All right. Oh man, I love this. The starting music that we get. Let's do this, guys. Just spice things up a bit. Spawning in the top right position as our blue Protoss player currently has a 3-1 lead in this best of 9. He is tearing it up. He is WhiteRa. And spawning in the bottom left position as our red Zerg player for team Quantic Gaming. Can he pull it back? He's down 1-3. He is in the hole. He is Quantic.HyuN. Now the map is Cloud Kingdom. This is a pretty popular map from Wings of Liberty. This is one of the favored maps from all players, really. Personal favorite maps like Stefano, players like Stefano. The Stefano map, exactly. The observers talking about WhiteRa is like, so scared, man. I don't want to play versus Terran. I don't want to deal with Widow Mines. I'd much rather, try to micro against your blinding cloud and your abducting sort of shenaniganery. And WhiteRa's going to get a pretty fast scout. This is normally timed, of course, though. He just wanted to throw it on the pylon for his Forge expand, just in case he needs to build a wall at the bottom. Basically just taking care of himself. And HyuN's going to go for a 14 spawning pool, which on this map could get fast Zerglings into WhiteRa's main if WhiteRa goes for something like a Nexus first. We could see a Forge open. You can Nexus first. You just have to wall off very quickly as Protoss and be very careful to not take any kind of damage from Lings. I think the last game of yesterday's Ritmix Russian Star League was... it was between Monchi and Scarlet, and it was 2-2. Like, the series was so close after some epic games, and then Scarlet just 14 pools. Monchi goes Nexus first. 4 Lings get past his cannon before it finishes, and he just GG's at the 4-minute mark. Like, you have to be very careful when you're dealing with some of these possibilities. If you miss those games, they're pretty awesome. You can find them on my channels or whatever somewhere. But back to this game, we are gonna have WhiteRa go straight for this Forge now after this after the Nexus. Only 2 Zerglings made by HyuN, so he's not gonna try to force anything. Gateway going down as well, and WhiteRa is gonna get his cannon up after the gateway. So this is pretty normal though. He'll have the money by the time the Forge actually finishes to get the cannon, so it's not a huge deal. And HyuN is still only making those 2 scouting Zerglings again. He's gonna go straight for that 3rd base. I can't imagine this drone going anywhere else. I mean, there's groceries and stuff at the hatchery, so that's all he's gonna do. Cannon on the way for our Ukrainian Protoss player. I always mix Ukrainian and Russian up. I apologize. I'm actually. My father speaks Russian, but he is also Ukrainian. But I don't know, there's just like this weird stuff. So I kind of look at it. I kind of look very similarly at both of them. Nexus finishing up for WhiteRa. This Zergling heading in, sees the Nexus. I mean, it's not like the Overlord didn't see that, but he's going to check around for any pylons in WhiteRa's base. And this is important because if WhiteRa places a pylon in his main base while HyuN has this Zergling here, HyuN knows where to send his Scouting Overlord later on in the game to see if there's a Stargate, robotic facility, etc. And now he's just doing a little bit of harassment, making WhiteRa pull some probes, forcing him to spend some time microing, some APM, and, well, it's working. WhiteRa actually misclicked. It's the tiny little things you can do to keep your opponent distracted, deal as much damage as possible. So this one Zergling being a bit of a nuisance, and like I said, it's like the law of Zerglings. 1 Zergling, okay, not a big deal. Once you hit, you go from the gap from 1 to 2, it's like, okay, then you hit like 3, it's like, and then you hit 4 Zerglings, and it's like, well, you're pretty much dead. But WhiteRa getting a fast Zealot out, he's chrono boosting it before his Cybernetics core completes, so he might be looking to follow us up with a fast Stalker and do some really quick Mothership core pressure. The Cyber core is complete, so the Stalker's on the way. I'd like to see a Mothership core in the production tab if he goes for this. He's supply blocked, though. A little bit sour about that, and it looks like it's just going to be regular Zealot Stalker pressure on that 3rd base. This is nothing unusual. This is to force out some Zerglings. This is to force out some defensive units that he can use to basically keep HyuN from making drones. And he's going to follow us up with a Stargate. And I wanted to say that while a lot of players might say, oh, WhiteRa is a player that makes a Stargate, this is very popular in current Wings of Liberty meta for Korean play because opening Stargate gives you a lot of flexibility. If HyuN wanted to go for Mutalisks, boom, Stargate, crank out some Phoenix, they have the range buff. Try to, you can deal with that, and then you can go safely into an air army against Mutalisks. If your opponent goes for Roach, really fast Roach play, get a Void Ray or 2, boom, prismatic alignment, 2 Void Rays, you've got it, completely destroy it. So what WhiteRa is doing is his own style with how he loves to go for the really big late game airplay, but it's still very safe. He's not doing anything unusual. This isn't like some 5 racks Reaper build where it transitions in the late game because you can switch into Marauders, right? It's a very well thought out build where he can go for the early harassment with the Oracle, and that's exactly what Blizzard was trying to do. Give a couple more options. Of course, the Oracle has the detection ability, so it's much more versatile tech path for Protoss to go down the Stargate area. And now we have additional gas being taken, all of the gas at the 3rd base at least, for HyuN. He's getting his lair together, getting that Zergling speed, and getting a macro hatchery. So no Roach Warren yet. Leaves me thinking that with this gas being taken, I'd like to see him take his main gas. He will. I'd like to see him maybe go for the Mutalisk play. It's a little bit more effective against some of these units because you can... you have the health regen available to deal with a lot of the forces that your opponent can send at you, right? The Mutalisks, if WhiteRa loses his vigilance for just one moment, those Mutalisks can kill all the Phoenix. Of course, just hypothesizing. We don't know what exactly HyuN will do just yet. The lair is complete, though. I'm looking to see a tech building go down with just Zergling speed. I feel like you need a Roach Warren for all this gas, unless he goes straight into Hydralisks again, and that... well, that's exactly what he's going to do. Hydralisk Den is started, and this is a very punishable build by WhiteRa. The last game we saw him punish it with the Colossus, and I think WhiteRa, after showing the Phoenix, after showing the Oracle that's about to dive in here and try to get some drone kills, and unfortunately there's 2 queens at each base. There's no way WhiteRa will be able to get in, but he's definitely forced a response with the Oracle. He's going to try to go in and snipe this queen. He's actually barely out of the range of that Spore Crawler. I forgot they have the bonus versus bio tag, but... he's taking a bottom right base, taking a 4th base, so HyuN is playing pretty greedily, but WhiteRa took a pretty fast 3rd himself, so this is kind of what HyuN needs to do. I actually wonder, did HyuN scout this? Yes, so he knows about this expansion. He knows what's going on. He's going to get his Hydralisk speed and his range. He's not going to forget the range this time. That actually really, really hurt him. I said in the last game that the Colossi without the range upgrade are the same range as the Hydralisks. That's only if the Hydralisk has the range upgrade themselves. Of course, Colossi without range have 6... and Hydralisks only have 5, so they've got as much range as a Marine. This Oracle's going to find this bottom right base, and that's the cool thing. The Phoenix can't attack this hatchery, but this Oracle can poke this poor Extractor. Man, that's a ton of energy burn. If he canceled and rebuilt that, I would just cry. He does manage to kill it off, and, well... WhiteRa knows about the 4th base for HyuN. He has an idea of what's going on. Hive is going to start for HyuN. I feel like he's just going to go for that Viper. The Viper Hydralisk build, that is the only game he's won in this best of 9 so far. And he's on the verge of actually losing this. He needs to really get his act together. He needs to pull himself, compose himself, just get his chai focused, get ready to take another game and pull himself back into this series, because HyuN is a monster. He's definitely capable of coming back from this, but this is still a very awkward position to be in, down 3-1 to a player who knows this game like the back of their hand. And that's also one of the bonuses of WhiteRa playing this game so much. Fleet Beacon about to finish for WhiteRa. It is complete. He's going to be able to move into that Carrier Tempest play that he loves so much. But I'm wondering if it's just going to continue to be Carriers. We actually haven't seen any Tempest. I've seen Tempest on his stream, but maybe WhiteRa's kind of figured out that Carrier's just a little bit better, a little bit tankier, able to do more DPS with the Interceptors once you get enough of them. But we'll have to see. This Oracle is going to head to the bottom right, activates that Pulsar Beam, is just going to try to kill any drones that are here, manages to get 1. We'll probably try to kill this Spore Crawler before it completes, but I guess he doesn't think he'll be able to grab it. He's going to run away, and there's a good number of Hydralisks on the field for our Zerg players. So HyuN... He's being a little more proactive on the field, and I think this is what he needs to do. He's getting the Overlord speed. No Ventral Sacks, so they're just removing the Overlords around, denying bases, being able to pull them back against the Phoenix. And WhiteRa, he's switching to Colossus. He's actually not using this Fleet Beacon at all. He's adding on additional gateways. He's moving up in his upgrades, starting that +1 armor. I believe he already has his... actually, no. Wow. He's only on 1-1, so there should be an upgrade advantage here. But HyuN hasn't upgraded either, so this is actually a weird... Normally, you would say something like, well, one player at the 15-minute mark would have a huge upgrade advantage, but neither player really upgraded. HyuN is now adding on Evolution Chambers, and it's kind of funny that he's building Evolution Chambers to feed his Vipers before he builds Evolution Chambers for upgrades. Oh, actually, well, I mean, he has them going now, but before he has his upgrades really going. And these, oh man, these Phoenix push in and grab a couple of these, he's poking these Vipers. Now keep in mind, the Vipers are tagged as armored, so they are not as vulnerable to these fast harassment air units from WhiteRa. He's going to start pulling away the health on these evolution chambers. I want to see HyuN do that sick play where I want to see him bring more Spore Crawlers, because that just made me feel giddy on the inside. If you guys missed it, in game number 2, HyuN brought over a large number of his Spore Crawlers, unburrowed them, and used them to feed the Vipers right outside of WhiteRa's base. It was a really great play. And now we have him prepping to possibly go in for a push. Storm is not even started being researched. But there are Templars, there's a good number of Colossus, and it looks like WhiteRa doesn't want to commit to the Air Force because he knows how HyuN has been playing this. He understands that HyuN, well, his forces are really, really squishy. These Hydralisks would die very quickly, this army. All he needs is a couple of good force fields to put these Hydralisks in their place, and, well, WhiteRa will be able to just walk all over this with his army composition. I think it's a really good sign of a smart player that WhiteRa's not playing this stubbornly. He got a Mothership Core early. He opened with the Stargate. He got a Fleet Beacon, but he's not committing to the air play, and that, you know, that's a sign of a patient man who understands this game. He realizes that HyuN is mostly scared about the air army. HyuN's biggest fear is the Protoss Air Death Ball. He hasn't prepared well for the Colossi in any of these games. Ooh, nice. Abduct on that Mothership Core. Manages to... Wow, he casted those really quickly. Gets the Time Warp off outside that third base, and that could actually be a little bit dangerous if he tries to force an engagement there. Storm is going to be complete soon, though, so WhiteRa, committing these additional Colossus, he's got a really nice army, and I like HyuN's decision of how he wants to deal with this. He's going to get an Ultralisk Cavern. He's going to get his Chitinous plating together and build up a nice force and possibly try to bust this down with Ultralisks. The thing is, though, as squishy as the army for HyuN is, all he needs to do is just slowly peel the Colossus towards him, peel the expensive units, grabs the Colossus with the abduct. 2 Colossus get grabbed, feedbacks go down, but 2 Colossi die for almost nothing, and he actually forces WhiteRa to storm his own units. That was a sick series of abducts. The Hydralisks almost caught, though. He needs to run backwards, continuing. These Zealots do have that charge upgrade. Grabs another Colossus with the abduct. He's going to try to focus it down. Another Colossi falls, and with that area of effect damage, this fight is going to go favoring our Zerg player, and the Storms are not hitting anything but WhiteRa's own units. HyuN needs to step back. He's remaxing now with the units he lost on Ultralisks. In 8 Ultralisks, WhiteRa, as I said before, he's played a show match with Demaga before, where we saw that Ultralisks are actually really strong. Another Colossus gets abducted. This is like guerrilla warfare. I just imagine HyuN in a forest. WhiteRa, he's walking around on the ground. He has this big bat, but he gets grabbed out of the tree. Another Colossus gets killed, and this is, you know, HyuN is a monkey swinging through the forest of Cloud Kingdom, just picking apart WhiteRa every chance he gets. There's a big scary monster, but this army, as strong as it is nothing when divided, and this has been a really awesome series of movements by HyuN. His army is weak against the Colossus charge lot ball, but he has managed to put himself in a very nice position, securing his 5th base now, and the army for WhiteRa is looking much weaker than before, especially with all of these Ultralisks added to the composition. HyuN's going to try to move in now towards this army. A lot of Storms are falling on the Ultralisks and whittling down that pretty big HP they have. He's moving in now. Some of the Storms really hitting these Hydralisks. Oh my goodness. This fight looks like it's going pretty well for WhiteRa. The Ultralisks, though, they deal so much damage. They had their buff to armor switched to light, so they do tons to all units, but I feel like WhiteRa has just enough here to stop this. The Colossus is going to try to grab that last Ultralisk, but a pretty good engagement here for WhiteRa. He lost a lot earlier on, but that big fight, that's a lot of resources invested by our Zerg player, and WhiteRa's going to try to go for a counter push with this opportunity that he has and try to clear out some units. Now, 92 Zerglings, very, very big remax on the Speedlings for HyuN. He doesn't really have the upgrades for them, though, and WhiteRa has +2 armor, so +1 attack lings won't be as effective, but he needs to shut this down and save his 4th base. It looks like he wants to try to split the Zerglings up so he can grab the Colossi, but that the 4th base is gone. The Zerglings continuing to run forward. Blinding Cloud hits the Stalkers. The Ultralisks are moving in. Will WhiteRa's army be able to hold this? I'm not sure. The charge lot's not as great against Ultralisks as they used to be, but the Archons, they pack quite a punch. The shields almost gone on a couple of these. He might barely be able to kill them, but the Colossi deal so much damage. the Ultralisk, though, there aren't enough of them to break through this, and he saves his, he kills the army at his third, but at what cost? He needs to counterattack and do a lot of damage very quickly with his next wave of units, or he's going to find himself in a really bad spot because of how many forces WhiteRa has. And he's going for this Zealot run by. The Ultras cleave away quite a bit of damage towards them. The Zerglings intercept them, and these the evolution chambers running a bit low on health. These Vipers need to consume a lot of energy, and I feel like this is his best chance to try to push into that 4th base of WhiteRa. And if WhiteRa gets his 5th base set up, he is going to become a monster with economy. HyuN has a lot of units on their Zerglings, though, but the units are going to be killed pretty quickly, so he doesn't have much of a bank to actually switch into techie units. So all WhiteRa needs is one more good engagement, and he's going to be in a really good position to deal with the forces coming out of HyuN. And HyuN is moving these Ultralisks and Zerglings over outside of WhiteRa's 4th. This is going to be a really big opportunity for him to shut down the economy before WhiteRa switches into monster mode, starting to get more Void Rays out, and those will deal a lot of damage to the Ultralisks. Here he goes. He's moving in. Photon Overcharge activated on the Nexus for defense. Blinding Cloud on the Zealots. One of the Archons are trapped in there, though. They can't attack. They have melee range until the Ultras get them. Ultras targeting down the Nexus. It will fall. The units are backed into a corner. The Immortal dies. The Archon dies. The Morphing Archons die. And HyuN has gone for a very cost-effective engagement. Takes the game. WhiteRa GG's. HyuN bringing this series back 2-3 now with a win in game number 5. Wow, that was a really good game. I was so, oh man, those abducts, that army from WhiteRa looked unstoppable. But the fact that he was able to pull it apart so well, it was almost like watching surgery with how fast he just sliced in there and just severed arteries. That was sick. Man, you guys, I mean, this has been a really great series, guys. I'm really glad you're all here watching. I'm really glad to be here casting this for you. I am Nathanias, and I'll be bringing you the rest of these games. This is a best of 9, so it should be 1st to 5 if I'm capable of doing math properly. The score is currently 3-2, favoring WhiteRa, so he's got a lead on our Korean player. And, yeah, we'll get into the next game as soon as we can, guys. Don't go anywhere.